involving the moon and colonizing asteroids, and little videos about showing beautiful images of the sun. So I have about 5 articles here. We'll see how many we get through. And just like before, I will have the article on the screen next to me as I read. So if you'd like to read along, you're more than welcome. If you'd like to pipe up and chat, well, no one will see this until a restream, but you know the routine. Okay, so the first article that I wanted to read out loud tonight, this one is, it's not going to be as pretty as our Planetary Society one because the Planetary Society's ads or articles are not covered in ads, so we will have to work around some ads right now because I kind of wanted to just take articles from all over the place, and sometimes they give you cookies. So this one is from Space and Science, and the article is Astronaut Artifacts on Moon. Okay. Like Apollo landers and Neil Armstrong's boot print, now protected by U.S. law. So I just think it was interesting because I like to look at the moon and think about, who's been up there and what we've done, and reading about some, human stuff that's still up on the moon, I thought would be kind of interesting. So this image here, the first one is NASA astronaut Buzz Aldrin is shown with the U.S. flag on the lunar surface during the Apollo 11 mission, July 20th, 1969. The U.S. One Small Step to Protect Human Heritage in Space Act became law December 31st, 2020. The what became law? The U.S. One Small Step to Protect Human Heritage in Space. That sounds like that should be next week's read-along. Space laws, why not? Somebody's got to know about them, right? And that way people stop buying stars. The conversation. It's hard to care about boot prints sunk in soil. I struggle with numbers. 238,900 miles away as humanity suffers the combined burden of an unforgiving virus and political unease. But now, humans treat those boot prints, and the historic lunar landing sites upon which they are found will speak volumes about who we humans are and who we seek to become. Does it? On December 31st, 2020, the One Small Step to Protect Human Heritage in Space Act became law. As far as laws go, it's pretty benign? Benign? I've not read that word out loud. It's pretty benign. Benign. Hey, we're all in this together. It requires companies that are working with the National Aeronautics and Space Administration on lunar missions to agree to be bound by otherwise unforeseeable guidelines intended to protect American landing sites on the moon. That's a pretty small pool. Oh, let me fix this. There we go. That's a pretty small pool of affected entities. However, it is also the first law enacted by any nation that recognizes the existence of human heritage in outer space. That's kind of neat. That's important because it reaffirms our human commitment to protecting our history, as we do on Earth with sites like the historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu, which is protected through instruments like the World Heritage Convention, while also acknowledging that the human species is expanding into space. So that's neat. Yeah, we do have a lot of things on Earth. There's, I think, even like buildings and stuff that get protected. So we're going to start protecting things in space.
You can make the text bigger.
Make the text bigger. Let's see. Command plus? Yes? Yes. How does that look?
That is better.
Okay. Yeah, we're expanding into space. I am a lawyer who focuses on space issues. That's a neat job. That seek to ensure the peaceful and sustainable exploration and use of space. I believe that people can achieve world peace through space. To do so, we must recognize landing sites on the moon and other celestial bodies as the universal human achievements they are, built on the research and dreams of scientists and engineers spanning centuries on this globe. I believe that the One Small Step Act, enacted in a divisive political environment, demonstrates that space and preservation truly are nonpartisan, even unifying principles. Well, that I agree with. I'm not the biggest fan of protecting like historical things. I know that sounds bad, but I'm much more future focused. But that's good. It is important to, especially with space stuff. While it would be nice to think that a human community on the moon would be a collaborative, multinational utopia, albeit located in what Buzz Aldrin famously described as a magnificent desolation, the fact is people are once again racing one another to reach our lunar neighbor. The U.S. Artemis project, which includes a goal of sending the first woman to the moon in 2024, about darn time, is the most ambitious mission. NASA has reinvigorated its Luna program, setting the stage to put cosmonauts on the moon in the mid-2030s. However, in a race once reserved for superpowers, there are now multiple nations and multiple private companies with the stake. India is planning to send a rover to the moon this year. China, which in December implemented the first successful lunar return mission since 1976, has announced multiple lunar landings in the coming years, with Chinese media reporting plans for a crewed mission to the moon within the decade. South Korea and Japan are also building lunar landers and probes. Everybody's going back to the moon, to the, what did he call it, a magnificent desolation? That's a very nice way to call it, a term for the moon. Such private companies such as, here we go with names, Astrobotic, Masten Space Systems, and Intuitive Machines are working to support the NASA missions. Other companies such as iSpace, Blue Moon, and SpaceX, while also supporting NASA missions, are preparing to offer private missions, including for tourism. Space tourism. I'm trying to make it a thing. They've been selling tickets for, 10 years at least? So, I guess in the grand scheme of exploring space, that's not that long still. All right. How are all these different entities going to work around one another? Space is not lawless. In 1967, Outer Space Treaty, now ratified by 110 nations, including all of the current spacefaring countries, offers guiding principles supporting the concept of space as the province. So like land, right? Isn't that what province means? As space as the province of all mankind. That's also nice to think about. The treaty explicitly indicates that all countries, and by implication their nationals, have the freedom to explore and free access to all areas of the moon. Nobody can own the moon. That's right. Everyone has the freedom to roam wherever they want. Oh boy. You better like your neighbors. Over Neil Armstrong's boot print, close to sensitive scientific experiments, and right up to a mining operation. There is no concept of property on the moon. The only restriction on this freedom is a remonstration? I know what demonstration is. Is the remonstration? Remonstration. Found in Article, is that 11? 9. In Article 9 of the treaty, that all activities on the moon must be carried out with due regard to the corresponding interest of all others and the requirement that you consult with others if you might cause harmful interference. Well, I mean, that just asks you to talk to them. It doesn't ask you to not do it. What does that mean from a legal standpoint? No one knows. Yeah, sounds about right. Understanding universal value. I thought this was going to be about things we left on the moon. That's okay. Space law is interesting too. Understanding universal value. It can reasonably be argued that interfering with an experiment or a lunar mining operation would be harmful, cause quantifiable damage, and thus violate the treaty. But what about derelict spacecraft, like the Eagle, the Apollo 11 lunar lander? Do we really want to rely on due regard to prevent the intentional and inadvertent destruction of this inspiring piece of history? This object memorializes the work of the hundreds of thousands of individuals who worked to put a human on the moon, the astronauts and cosmonauts who gave their lives in this quest to reach the stars, and the quiet heroes like Katherine Johnson who fueled the math that made it so. Nice! Mega so. The lunar lander sites from Luna 2, the first human-made object to impact the moon, and each of the crewed Apollo missions, the Chang'e 4, which deployed the first rover on the far side of the moon, in particular, bear witness to humanity's greatest technological achievement so far. They symbolize all that we have accomplished as a species and hold such promise for the future. The One Small Step Act is true to its name. It's a small step. It applies only to companies that are working with NASA. It pertains only to U.S. lunar landing sites. It implements outdated and untested recommendations to protect historic lunar sites implemented by NASA in 2011. However, it offers significant breakthroughs. It is the first legislation from any nation to recognize an off-Earth site as having outstanding universal value to humanity. Language taken from the unanimously ratified World Heritage Convention. The Act also encourages the development of best practices to protect human heritage in space by evolving the concept of due regard and harmful interference, an evolution that will also guide how nations and companies work around one another. As small a step as it may be, recognizing and protecting historic sites is the first step to developing a peaceful, sustainable, and successful lunar governance model. The boot prints are not protected yet. There is a long way to go towards an enforceable, multilateral universal agreement to manage the protection, preservation, or memorialization of all human heritage in space. But the One Small Step law should give us all hope for the future in space and here on Earth. Well, I think the neatest part of that is that it's just starting to be recognized as the next frontier, the final frontier. All right, this one's coming at you from the New York Post. I'm not generally the biggest fan, but this one's titled, Humans Could Move to Floating Asteroid Belt Colony Within 15 Years, because it's the New York Post. Let's give it a try. Okay, so first of all, they have, this is just a series of images that looks like to kind of place you as far as where the asteroid belt is. I'll just kind of go through these one at a time. Dwarf planet Ceres is located in the main asteroid belt between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. So you have the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and then Mars, Jupiter, and so between there's an asteroid belt. And then way out there is like Pluto and all of that. So this is the belt in between, not the Kuiper belt, not the comets one. This is the rockier one. As illustrated in this artist's conception, observations by the Herschel Space Observatory. Okay, so yeah, you can, I could have just shown this. So the Sun, what do we got? Mercury, Venus, Earth, the Moon. This would be Mars, and then this here would be the asteroid belt going around, and there's a dwarf planet in there called Ceres. So I guess this article is about colonizing Ceres.
It's an artist's rendition because things aren't really that close together in the asteroid belt.
Yes. They don't have little orbits circling either. Well, they have but they don't have like lines. So, yeah. Yes.
Standing on one asteroid, you wouldn't really be able to see another asteroid nearby.
Yeah. You definitely.
Space is big.
Space is big. Yep. I think this next one here, this is actually Ceres. This is probably where they are proposing that we live. Oh, yes, 15 years. No problem. We got this. 15 years, we'll be here. Sure. Oh, jeez.
From the 70s.
Yeah.
They've been saying 15 years since the 70s.
Yeah, I didn't check the date on this article. Space station in space, an artist depiction of a future space colony somewhere between Earth and the Moon. Well, that's not out in the asteroid belt. Why do they got that picture in there for? Okay.
Look, the text bigger.
Let's just see what they have to say, because I personally have no idea how we would start a space colony in the asteroid belt in 15 years. So let's see if the New York Post has cracked this case. How's that? Is that big enough? We good? Okay. Humans could live on giant... I can't even read the first sentence. Humans could live on giant orbs floating in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter within the next 15 years. Don't take that out of context. I'm just reading the article. Yes, that is a bonkers claim made by top scientist Pekka Genhunen. I apologize in advance for all eternity about how horribly I pronounce names. Who says millions of people could inhabit a megacity in space by 2026. Oh my goodness.
Just 6 years away.
Oh my, I know. They didn't even need to say 15 years. They could have just said tomorrow. Might as well. Let's see if I can get better at this. How do you think this is pronounced? Genhunen, an astrophysicist at the Finnish Meteorological Institute in Helsinki, described his vision in a research paper published this month. He laid out the blueprint for a floating mega satellite around the dwarf planet Ceres, which lies roughly 325 million miles from Earth. The motivation is to have a settlement with artificial gravity that allows growth beyond Earth's living area. The vast majority of plots to settle distant worlds revolve around the Moon and Mars. This is largely due to their proximity to Earth. But who needs that? Let's just go on out to Ceres. How do we say this? Proposal. I'll just say the scientist. The scientist's proposal, on the other hand, looks a little farther afield. His disc-shaped habitat would boast thousands of cylindrical structures, each home to more than 50,000 people. Those pods would be linked by powerful magnets that generate artificial gravity by slowly rotating. Residents would mine resources from Ceres 600 miles below the settlement, no problem, and haul them back up using space elevators. Lifting the materials from Ceres is energetically cheap compared to processing them into habitats if the space elevator is used. Because Ceres has low gravity and rotating relatively fast, the space elevator is feasible. Ceres, the largest object in the asteroid belt, has been destined for off-world settlements due to its nitrogen-rich atmosphere. This would allow settlers to more easily create Earth-like conditions than those colonizing the harsher carbon dioxide-rich environments of Mars. That doesn't solve the threat of rogue asteroids or space radiation, though the scientist who worked with a number of Finnish researchers on the paper has thought of that too. He proposed that giant cylindrical mirrors placed around the mega satellite could protect it from bombardment of all kinds. I don't really think of a shield being made of mirrors as very sturdy. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something here. I hope. There must be something here I'm not getting. I never think, oh, let me get a mirror and stop this boulder from smashing my face. Okay, I'll keep going. These mirrors would also focus sunlight into the habitat for the growth of crops and the plant life until they get smashed by an asteroid. It all sounds pretty rosy. But the scientists also highlighted a number of issues with the plans. For one, there's the not so small hurdle of actually flying to Ceres. NASA sent a probe there in 2015, a trip that took a staggering 8 years, far too long to sustain hundreds of people using current technology. Jen Huinen also admitted that the energy required to lift building materials from Ceres to orbit would represent a major obstacle. You think? So, this is an example of a headline just kind of getting me. And I knew it would be silly, but I mean, okay, the point in here is I think he's trying to make that Ceres is more hospitable for mining resources and stuff than like if we were to go to Mars. So that being said, I mean, it would take a massive shift in focus for all of these private companies to swing from wanting to go to the moon and Mars all of a sudden to Ceres. And yeah, the distance is no small thing. Neither is getting hit with asteroids and stuff. You know, it's not really a safe place. So, yay or nay? Are we going to be living on the asteroid belt in 15 years?
I don't think so.
No, yeah, but we have all the blueprints. We just got to do it.
It hasn't been peer reviewed yet.
It hasn't been peer reviewed yet?
No, it says at the bottom.
I got to give him props. It is neat to think about, you know, better places to go. Or her, I don't know, maybe a lady. I got to give them props. That it is nice to think about, you know, colonizing places that isn't, you know, common for people to talk about. All right, so that was fun. We're done with that one. All right, the next one, this is 12 coolest 4K space videos that let you escape Earth for a few minutes. I've been talking all day, so I am going to watch some videos and try to not talk. I'm not necessarily going to read this article. There's so many. What is there, 12? I'm just going to find ones that look interesting. I did watch this sun one earlier, and then I decided I was going to wait to watch them all. And I will play it again because it was beautiful. NASA's 4K view of April 17th solar flare. NASA solar... Oh, that was not a very good read-along. On April 17th, 2016, an active region on the sun's right side released a mid-level solar flare. This event was captured by NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory, a spacecraft from NASA's Living with the Star mission, which has been observing the sun since 2010. This video is particularly special as the flare was captured in several wavelengths of extreme ultraviolet light, which is typically invisible to our eyes, but is shown in different color-coded footage in NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory images for easy viewing and possible viewing. That's neat. It's just all the activity on the sun. Oh, are they showing? The footage is accompanied by the appropriately named song Collide by Greg Lerman.
The text bigger.
Make the text bigger. Okay. I didn't know I was going to read. I thought I was going to try to stop talking. It's impossible. Is that big enough, you think? Make it bigger? I can move it over to the side a little more, too. No? Okay, just make it bigger. How's that? Ah! Oh, that's what you're looking at. You want it to match that. Okay. This one is Stunning Aurora Borealis from Space in Ultra-High something. Probably definition. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. I was trying to read it from the... Here we go. Let's try this one. Space photography. Oh, that's neat. That's the space station. That's them setting up to maybe take the image. Wow. Is that storms?
I think so. And lightning.
Yeah. That's a neat one. And that's our planet. It's where we live. All the interactions of things. It's so fast. The amazing phenomenon of the Northern Lights is something some of us can only dream about being lucky enough to see in person. However, thanks to the International Space Station's UHD camera, we can enjoy one of the best views of the planet from our own homes. This short video uses time lapses shot from the International Space Station and shows both the Aurora Borealis and Aurora Australis phenomenon that occur when electrically charged electrons and protons in the Earth's magnetic field collide with neutral atoms in the upper atmosphere. Looks like a bunch of ghosts.
Get the poltergeist ready.
Gonna suck them up in the vacuum cleaner. Playing that Luigi's Mansion. Very pretty. It's a very long one. I'm gonna go ahead to the next one.
Pause the video.
Pause the video. Ooh, Apollo 13 views the moon in 4K. Ooh, I love images of the moon. Let's see a video of the moon. Data from the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter spacecraft now makes it possible to show that the Apollo 13 astronauts, what they saw as they flew around to the far side of the moon. Really? Between Earthset and sunrise, the crew was a darkness for a total of 8 minutes, and then the lunar terrain emerged. That's so neat. So this video uses data from the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter spacecraft. It's currently orbiting the moon to recreate some of the stunning views the Apollo 13 astronauts saw on their journey around the far side in 1970. These sped up 4K visualizations show how many different views of the lunar surface, starting with Earthset, the apparent setting of the Earth below the lunar horizon, and sunrise, and concluding with the time Apollo 13 re-established radio contact with Mission Control. Once Earth was finally back within sight, the astronauts were able to reconnect with Mission Control. So that's neat. So the free return trajectory around the moon was beginning in the journey home safely for Apollo 13. So they just kind of slingshot around and were in 8 minutes of darkness, and then they could see. That's neat. Slingshot around the moon, just on time travel. This one, oh, Jupiter, I gotta watch this one too. I wasn't gonna watch all of them, but I like these things. Jupiter is possibly my favorite planet. There's the red spot. I don't know if it's Jupiter that I like or just that it has Europa as its moon. I don't know. So this is actually Jupiter. This is not an artist's interpretation. Shot back in 2015. This then groundbreaking imagery is from NASA's Hubble Space Telescope program, captured as part of a series of annual portraits of the solar system's outer planets. The project was created to help current and future scientists see how these giant worlds change over the years. At the time, it revealed details never before seen on Jupiter, including a rare wave just north of the planet's equator, and a unique filamentary feature on the core of the Great Red Spot. So we're still finding new things about Jupiter. That's neat. Yeah. The hexagons.
That's on Saturn.
But was that recently, or did we kind of always know that those were there? I only knew about them, like, I don't know, 5 years ago.
I think we saw them with the Voyager spacecraft.
Did we? So we've known that those were there. Okay. Sound and visions of silence. Oh, shall we meditate? Let's see. That is the sun rising over Earth as seen from the space station, I believe. Is someone talking?
It's music.
Okay. Okay. Ocean Moon... Oh, stop that video. Ocean Moon Glint and City Night Lights in HD. Oh, this is just gonna look like that other one of the... of all the lights. This video comprises time-lapse imagery taken by NASA astronaut Jack Fisher from the International Space Station. Goes over the Pacific Ocean and the moon glint. That was pretty. Europe from space in 4K. You're in Europe. This is you from space.
They're rocking out.
They're rocking. Wow. Oh, that's neat. It just shows like... Oh, okay. It shows like the map. Sometimes when you look up, you can actually see the space station flying overhead. I've seen it. It's very neat. Mercury Transit 2019. Oh, we saw this at the observatory, or their stream. It's a big bright thing and a dark thing goes in front of it. There it is. Oh, where'd it go? There it is. Oh, where'd it go? There it is. Okay, I get it. I get it. Stop the video. A flight through the candles? Ultra Deep Survey? I have not seen this or heard of it. Is this another ultra deep field?
Cosmic Assembly Near Infrared Deep Extragalactic Legacy Survey Project.
Some little words.
That's what CANDLE stands for. They're one of the pretty candles.
Yeah. So this is just a composite? Or is this an image that they then 3D'd and now you're going through? Probably the second, I would think. If it's a deep field, I mean, I guess it could still be a composite. Neat. 10. Thermonuclear art. Well, I gotta see that one. Good old NASA Solar Dynamics Observatory images the sun in 10 wavelengths of visible ultraviolet light. Each wavelength is assigned a unique color, and every image is 8 times the resolution of HD video. A team of media specialists worked about 10 hours to create 1 minute of this footage. 10 hours, that's nothing. Okay, let's see. It's the sun. That is so neat. All the eruptions, solar tsunamis. That's neat. Just different wavelengths. It almost looks like it's like crumbling.
It's got cracks.
Yeah. It's eating itself.
Stop the video.
Stop the video. Okay. The Earth 4K Extended Edition. Oh, I think this is...
An hour is pretty extended.
Let's, hey, got an hour. We got a viewer. Get some popcorn. No, I think this is just the longer version of the first one. It's just so neat. Is this on the actual NASA website? They do have a lot of really neat images on there. Ooh, 4K video of colorful liquid in space. Oh, I love it when they do this. They show you like little experiments and stuff that they do on the space station. It's very fun. Let's see. 4K Ultra HD from the International Space Station. Yeah. That is what it looks like to have water in space. And he just colorized it. I've never seen them colorize it before. Huh. Ooh. Oh, it's getting all bubbly. Huh.
I think you put an Alka-Seltzer tablet in there.
An Alka-Seltzer tablet? I think, was that Scott Kelly? Is that who that was? The guy that was up there the longest.
Or an effervescent tablet. The name brand. Or not the name brand. The generic.
Ah, so that's what happens if you give a acid reflux medication to a ball of colorized water in space, or liquid. Very neat. I like that. I'm surprised I watched all of them. Okay. Let's see. We have a few left. I may only do one more of these. We have 9 stargazing tips. We also have top astronomical events to look for in 2021. I might do that one sometime by itself. That one was very long. Using the International Space Station to understand and combat bone loss. I don't know if I have that one in me. I think I'm just going to do this one. This one was kind of fun. This is from Science Focus, and it is 9 stargazing tips to get you watching the stars from home. Being stuck at home could provide the perfect opportunity to get to know the night sky, and you don't even need a telescope. So,
It's bigger.
make the text bigger. Like telescopes do.
More.
More? How's
More.
that? More?
More. Should be big.
Bigger?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It is easier to read that way. Oh, the ads. I'll do a just NASA one next time. No ads. A clear night sky filled with stars is a wonderful sight. Looking up at the heavens can make us feel warm and fuzzy, even if it's cold and freezing outside, or freezing cold. But stargazing isn't something that is reserved for astronomers with big fancy telescopes. Stargazing for beginners is something that you can do from home with only a warm jacket, an idea of where to look, and plenty of time to sit back and enjoy the view. If you have a pair of binoculars, great. But don't worry. These tips will help you go star spotting with nothing but the naked eye. So fancy heading outside to see what the night sky has to offer. These stargazing tips from our friends at BBC Night Sky magazine will help you get the most of your night under the stars. Dress for the occasion. Before you even look at the sky, take a look at yourself in a mirror. Who wrote this? This is kind of funny. Take a look at yourself in the mirror. Are you dressed properly? You're going to be outside for at least an hour, hopefully longer. It can get cold even on summer nights. So dress appropriately with a warm jacket, thick socks and gloves, a scarf and a hat. Basically, you want to look like one of the rosy-cheeked children playing happily in the winter snow from a vintage Lady Bird book. Okay, I'm gonna have to give this writer a shout out. This is a lot. I'm gonna stop clicking off the ads. They just reappear. Prepare your site. Find a spot in your garden, or really wherever, because we all obviously have gardens. So wherever you can find. Sometimes it's just out the window. That's fine too. Find a spot wherever where you can see as much of the night sky as possible away from other houses, tall buildings, and trees. If you don't have a garden, you can stargaze from a balcony or a front step or through a skylight. If you're going to be outside for a while, take a chair. A reclining chair will allow you to look upwards without straining your neck. Turn off all your outdoors lights, and if you can, get the neighbors to do the same and join you. Well, 6 feet away, but still.
They can be in their yard.
Yeah, in their yard. There you go. They can, hey, you see that over there? Yeah, we see it over there. Yeah, there we go. That'll work. If you don't have somewhere to stargaze, or if there's a lot of light pollution, then you might need to find another site, lockdown restrictions permitting. Yes. Head to a dark spot in the countryside, or just walk around the corner to your local park or playing field. Adjust your eyes. This one's very important. Adjust your eyes. Once you're comfy, let your eyes adjust to the darkness. Astronomers call this process dark adaptation, and it takes about half an hour. Don't browse on your phone while you wait. Its bright screen will ruin your night vision. If you need some light, use a red light torch or a red bicycle light if you don't have one. I think phones have apps too. They have filters that can reduce which you should use anyway at night. See the stars. Once your eyes have adjusted, you won't believe how many more stars you can see. You might be able to notice subtle differences in the stars' colors, which depend on their temperature. The hottest stars are more of a bluish color, while cooler stars have a yellow, orangish red tint. Look for patterns. The stars can be joined up to form patterns. You might recognize one straight away. The saucepan-shaped plow, which is visible all year round. I have not come across this. Have you?
The plow?
The plow? I know okay. The plow is in Asterism, a star pattern that's not one of the official constellations. It forms part of the constellation Ursa Major, the Great Bear, that I've heard of.
It's talking about the Big Dipper?
I think they're talking about the Big Dipper.
Where is this written?
I don't know. The plow instead of the dipper? That's neat. Okay, yeah, maybe. But I'm not sure where this was written. I should have looked. Another asterism to look out for in June is the summer triangle. Very few of the 88 constellations look like the person, animal, or object they represent, so you'll need to use some imagination. If you return to your observing site in another season, you'll notice that the constellations you can see has changed. This is because the Earth is in a different position in space as it orbits the Sun, and it's why it takes a year to properly get to know the sky, not just one night. Ooh, spot a planet. That's one of my favorite things. If you see a bright star that isn't twinkling, twinkle, twinkle, little star, if you see one that isn't twinkling, it's almost certainly a planet. Why do stars twinkle and planets don't? A star is so far away that its pinprick of light arrives in a very narrow beam, which is easily distorted as it passes through our atmosphere. We see this as twinkling. I've heard, is this compared to like when you're, well, no, that's something different, never mind. Planets are much closer and their eyes reflect from the sun. And their light reflected from the sun comes to us in a thicker beam which isn't so easily distorted. There are 5 planets that can be seen in the nighttime sky with just the naked eye: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter. For tips on how to spot them, so yeah, basically if you look up and you see something really bright but it's not twinkling, it could be one of the Mercury, Venus, Mars, or Saturn or Jupiter. I don't know why they flipped them like that. Spot a meteor. Shooting stars. As you're gazing skyward, you might be lucky enough to see a meteor dash across the sky. A shooting star. These are tiny grains of space dust burning up in the atmosphere. Larger, bright meteors called fireballs can survive their trip through the atmosphere and drop meteorites to the ground. Your best chance of seeing a shooting star is during a meteor shower when the Earth passes through the dusty tail left by a comet. So the comet's passing, probably going to be a bunch of little doo-doo-doos. One of the best annual showers is the Perseids, which peaks this year around the 11th through 13th of August. Marvel at the moon. Go outside on a cloudless night and reacquaint yourself with our coldest celestial neighbor. Impact craters appear as bright patches on the moon's surface, while the dark regions, known as lunar mara, are vast plains of solidified lava. So now you know, if you're looking at the moon, the light parts and the dark parts. The dark regions are vast plains of solidified lava, and the brighter patches are impact craters. So that's kind of neat. It's always fun to know what you're looking at. The moon's features cast more impressive shadows and are hence easier to pick out when they're close to the terminator, the dividing line between the moon's dark and illuminated portions. So the crescent moon, it's the part of the crescent, or the half moon, it's right where the dark to light parts, right there. You get nice little shadows and features. So the crescent or gibbous moon can be just as interesting as a full moon, especially when seen through binoculars, or more interesting because a full moon is very bright and you won't actually get to see a lot of the shadow details. So the full moon isn't necessarily the best time to look at the moon through binoculars. It's really not. You can also download an app, which I've done before. Actually, there's a lot of them. They're kind of nice. Stargazing apps can be a great way to familiarize yourself with the positions of the stars and planets. You'll need to make sure you turn your screen brightness right down to keep your night vision, or just do like a red light filter. Red light filter if it has one. Some good free to download, Stellarium. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, so yeah, download an app. Get yourself a comfy chair, look for a non-twinkling bright, point of light, and you found a planet. So that's kind of nice, just kind of for beginners. I think that's kind of all I got in me for today. I think next time we're going to find some actual NASA articles to not have so many, ads and stuff. But I gotta say, if I see some more New York Post talking about colonizing Ceres in the next 15 years, I'm gonna throw that in there too, because that was a lot of fun. So we're probably gonna play Luigi's Mansion in about a half hour, so we'll stream some more then.